All right, I've been meaning to get to this, a video on advanced consist. I've been getting these Rapidos, and I bought all four of the B&O. I grew up around B&O, C&O, and Chessie. I don't recall ever seeing Western Maryland, but I was from the southwest corner of Michigan, so maybe they just didn't make it out that far that way. So I'm just going to go through the basics here, and then show it working. So what I did, when you do an advanced consist, it allows you to turn functions on and off for each engine. So you got to break down, you have to just basically use a table and add up the bits. A lot of people, they hear all this in CVs, and it kind of puts them off, scares them a bit. And I can understand, but you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to just try to make this as easy as possible and straightforward. So what you do is you start out with, in this case, every engine starts with 38. And I've got them all in a row. It starts with 3801 to 17 to 24 to 40. That's the four that they had, and they all have the Soundtraxx Tsunami 2, and they all have 3 mini cube speakers, and they all have current keeper. I'd redone the LEDs on everything except a few in the front end I was able to reuse, and so what's in the back for the class lights and walk light, I just matched by trying different resistors. And I have videos on my page of how to do all that if you'd like. All right, so getting back to advanced consist, you have to pick a number between 1 and 127 as your main primary address. And we'll start with the first one. So all four of these are going to operate under address 38 because it's got a 38 in the number, and that just seemed to make sense to me. So in CV19, it's normally 0, and if it is, then your locomotive runs the way it normally does on whatever number you've programmed it. Most program it, or not program it, set your CV to address, in this case 3801, and if I put 0 in CV19, it'll go back to being the way it was. And all the other settings, there's 4 other groups that go over the functions, and we'll hit that real quick so you can see what's going on. The first step is CV19 is 38 on every one of these locomotives. That's what puts it into the advanced consist. And then what you do is CV21, you have to enable the different functions, because I believe it comes with a default of 0. I'm not positive of that, but we're going to walk through it anyway. So I've got the technical reference. Well, this is actually the user's guide. Okay. I've got the technical reference too, but all you want to make sure is that you've got your chart here. And just follow me through this, and it should make a lot of sense. Function 1 is the bell. Function 2 is the horn. Function 3 is the short horn. Function 4 is the dynamic brake. Function 5 notches up the diesel engine. Function 6 notches it down, and if you go all the way down, it'll shut off. You may have to have other CVs set for this to happen. I'm just generically going over these real quick. F7 dims the headlight. If it's an LED, you can see it. It doesn't dim by a whole lot. Function 8 is what mutes your locomotive. You're probably familiar with this, and you're probably thinking, why would I not want all those? And on the lead engine, I want every function. Almost every. We'll get to that. So what you do is you just come down here and start adding these numbers. 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 plus 32 plus 64 plus 128 equals 255. So in CV21, you put 255. Now let's come down to the next one. This is where it might be a little confusing, but I'm going to go right through it, and it's probably going to seem super simple. It is the lead engine. F0 is lights, and you've got two different directions, forward and reverse. I want the headlight to come on when I'm going forward with this locomotive, but I do not want the rear light of the lead locomotive coming on when I go in reverse. So we just skip that one. So we add 1, skip 2, and go to 4. 1 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 plus 32. You're getting all the functions in here, and just to double check, I'm pretty sure 9, is your grade crossing. It automatically does it. 10 is straight to 8. 11, independent / train brake. And then you have 12, which is brake select / train line charge. And you've already got that on from the factory. That's the way it's set. So when we add all that up, for my lead engine, I got 61. So in CV22, you put 61. If you use a pencil for this and just want to lightly circle and then erase when you're done, you can just write the number here. It's pretty straightforward. It really is. And I challenge some of you guys to get into this and try it, because if you make a mistake, you can always go back. In fact, these CVs, you'll go to try it and it just won't work, and you'll be like, okay, let me go back and add those up. Some lights aren't working the way I thought they would, or whatever. So if you fail, just start over. I'm telling you, there's so much more to these decoders than there's so much more potential than I think most users are using. Okay, now it's going to jump up, and the reason it jumps up from 22 to 245 is because the two first rows are like legacy decoders. It's before we were able to go up to, I'm not sure what it is, I believe 28 functions. Some may go 1 or 2 higher. So that's why they couldn't just pick 23. It's already been used. That was something that was set as a standard under the National Railroad Modeling Association. So now we have to go up into the higher areas to set those values. And hopefully that makes sense. It's again pretty straightforward. Now all these bits, I'm just reading the card that comes with it, okay? Because I don't remember all these, but I want them to work. So 13 is couple, uncouple. 14 is switching mode. 15 is handbrake. 16 is HEP mode. 17 is fuel loading. 18 is general service. 19 is straight to idle. 20 is steam gen / auxiliary HEP gen. I wanted them all. So when you add all these up, it's going to end up being 255. And then the last one, there's like 2 things that I did not want. I want the first one. The first one is sander valve. It's very, very quiet. You can probably only hear it when the engine is off. 22 is cab chatter, and I don't mind that, but when you have a advanced consist, the problem is the chatter is random, and all 4 engines are going to be saying different things. So I turn that off. It just sounds like you're in a crowded room. You can't understand what they're saying. Unless this is, for 23, unless this is a passenger train that just, it's the all aboard sound conductor. So I just skip over those two. Now that's me. I don't want the cab chatter. So like I said, it's just a bunch of people talking, and I don't want the all aboard. So I skip those two. But the rest in this model I'm using because I've got all 8 functions. So I add 1, skip over those 2. So 1 plus 8 plus 16 plus 32 plus 64 and plus 128. Actually, I didn't use the 128. On mine, it's mapped over, so I only went up to 19. And so that value is 121 on my model. I'm pointing to this, but it's the last one, CV246. So those are the only 4, and it seems like a lot of information to take in. But when you break it down into these sections and you just understand when the decoder sees the sum of the bits that you've put in, it knows what to do. Now, I'm not going to go over it in detail, but it's the same thing. The 2 middle engines, I call them mid, and I want, in my case, I kind of like the sound of the horn coming from all engines. That is totally up to you. So I have a value of 255 on the first row because I want all the functions and sounds that the first one does. Then on 22 I have 60 because there's going to be no headlights. To be honest, I'm not real sure, but if I spent a little bit of time, I could add up and figure why or how it came up to 60. But I don't want any headlights. The only thing I want is number boards. So on the 2 middle engines, I call them mids, only the number board will come on when I turn on the number board in the lead engine. And then I have what's called the end. And the only difference is the number boards come on, but if my headlight is on and I go in reverse, instead of a 1, I've got a 2 here now. And so what that does is when I reverse the engines, the headlight in the front goes off and the light in the rear of the consist comes on, just like if it was a single locomotive. I can turn on my ground light. I do have ground lights on this unit, and then I do have step lights. I've got the front class lights enabled. The Rapido comes with gauge lights, which I've mapped to 0. So if the headlight comes on, the gauge lights come on. But I've got them turned down so low, it doesn't light the cab. It's not supposed to light the cab. They're just like the instruments in your car dash. And it shouldn't be brighter than that. So with this consist all together, all I have to do is plug in Loco 38. Okay, there it is. Got to turn the power on. Now there is one other function I set, and I apologize. I should have wrote this down. I've got a timeout set on these locomotives. I do a lot of work on the table. Please excuse the mess. And after a while, it kind of gets old. They call it Fireman Ed instead of Fireman Fred. That was with the steam locomotives. And he goes about and does his business, and you hear random sounds here and there. But when I'm doing a video like this, there's so many times it would interrupt, or when I'm concentrating, and some of this stuff is so tiny, I don't want to hear it. It's easy enough to hear. All I have to do is turn on any function. I've got that quiet mode set to 1. If you set it to 0, it's off. I've got mine set to 1, and after 1 second, it's going to go quiet. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so the headlight's on. Now that the headlight's on, it never has a chance to try to time anything, because it needs just one function on, and then Fireman Ed can go about his business. So if I leave it like this, then I can hear it if I want to. And I like that, because it's not that I don't like Fireman Ed. I got nothing against the guy. It's just, I don't want to hear all these engines. Every engine you see on the table is all Tsunami 2, and it can get kind of busy. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on a few more lights just so you can see that, and then I'm just going to get into the demo real quick. There's the ground lights. They come with the Rapido. There you can hear some things, little activity going on here. My 25 turns on my step lights, and it's only for the lead engine. It doesn't make sense for ground lights and step lights to come on every engine, right? That's why on those mid engines and the trailing end unit, I've programmed it so they don't come on. It's just not needed. 26 turns on the number boards for every locomotive. Okay. 27, and you can see not only the step lights, but from the factory, it's got the walk lights at the nose and the rear. And I did my best to blend, because the front I reused, the back I had to add, put my own resistor and then just play with resistor values till they were the same brightness. So all those come on together, and F7 turns on my class lights. But normally F8 would turn on the rear class lights. Now when I press it, there's nothing, because when you program it, you're saying, will it come on or won't in the advanced consist. And since I left the last number off, which I think in this case was 128, the rear class lights will not come on, and there's no reason for them to come on. So let's go ahead and hear this thing. We'll go ahead and now I've got my acceleration set to, I think, about 48. Deceleration, I don't mess with that, because right now, with such a short layout, if something happens, I want to be able to turn the throttle all the way down and get an instant response. It's not very realistic. But if I hit the F11 brake, then it brakes very realistically, and I believe I might have that set at 48 too. So let's go ahead and reverse this thing. Can't quite get the camera down there, but you can see I believe in very bright lights on the headlights. I want it to look realistic. So let's go ahead and release the brakes and go ahead and back up. They all work perfectly in unison. I do have the back, I think it's called EMF, turned on, and if they weren't running smoothly together, you would hear them fighting each other. They'd be ramping up and down all over the place. Now I'm going to set the brake because I don't have much track. Now the nice thing about that, just to let you know, that even though I have deceleration turned off, I've got a braking rate set. And that way when I hit the brakes, I can turn the throttle all the way to 0, and it's going to keep rolling until it has satisfied that braking. It's not, there is a setting for braking distance. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about braking rate. Every one of these, I'm just mentioning this, every one of these cabooses have a sound car decoder with a FRED, a red LED in each end. I've got videos on that, you can see. And is it 7? Yeah, 7. I just finished up the red and the blue within the last day or two. So they all have the sound car, the current keeper, and you have to change the trucks out to electrical pickups. But that sounds incredible when it's on here as well. All right, now I've reversed the direction. The brake is on. We're going to go ahead and give it a little throttle, turn off the brake. And I'll go ahead and set my independent brake. Now, if you don't have your throttle down, as soon as it comes to a stop, it's going to try to throttle up because it sees that you have an input. So I've gotten in the habit, as soon as I hit the F11 command, I go ahead and dial my throttle all the way to 0. It will not affect the locomotive. It's going to look at that braking rate. And when your sound cars are attached, they'll do the flange squeal, the clickety-clack. And if you apply the brakes, you'll hear air dump from these 4 units. You won't hear the squeal. The squeal will come from the cars behind it that have sound car. And when you come to a stop with that brake rate number, if you put the same brake rate number in a sound car, they stop squealing at the exact same time the locomotive stops. And that is a very cool, realistic feature. So I'm going to try something here. Go ahead and turn off some lights. Okay, do you notice how it muted? It's because, like I said, after 1 second, I want the engines to go quiet. Now, typically I would not do this. You need to have one function on, and if I turn the headlight on, it's going to turn the sound right back on. But what that does is, if I'm working at the table and I've got the engine shut off, which I'm fixing to do, so let me do that. So you can hear it's still on. I'm going to pull it up just a little bit. Brakes off. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and F6. It just turns everything off in unison. And then I'll hit my... Now if I leave it like this, Fireman Ed will do his rounds. But if I turn off my headlight like that, okay? Now the counter is started, and after 1 second they won't make any sound anymore. So that's it. It's turned off. I was in the middle of describing something that I don't remember. But anyway, that is hopefully a pretty straightforward explanation for advanced programming. And at first, I was a little nervous about it. But once I tried it, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, because these two locomotives back here are the same thing. They start out with a 52, so those are on address 52. And I forgot to mention, if I want to reverse any one of these engines, you know, flip it around, long hood forward, all you have to do in this case is add 128 to the value that I put in there for the address, 38. So 38 plus 128, and that's all you have to do. And then if it was this engine that I did it to, I would flip it around the other way, and it's going to operate just the way you saw me just do it. And I can do it to the end one. I can do it to whatever one I want. I could do it to all of them, which would be goofy, but that's what you do. You just take your advanced consist address and add 128 to it. And that's how I have this done. So this one is 52. Not sure what this number is off the top of my head. It's just 52 plus 128. And then this is set up the same way, except this has got ditch lights in the front. So when it's going forward, I got a headlight here in the nose, and when I back up, the rear light on here lights up, but not the ditch lights. Hopefully you see advantage in this. It's pretty cool. You can consist on Digitrax. You just press MU and you can just start adding engines. But I found, like, when it comes to braking, it's kind of finicky. I'll turn the throttle down and it just stops. It's kind of like it's the opposite. I gotta not touch the throttle until it comes to a stop. You can't control. You just don't have the same kind of control. This is for the person that's like, yes, I'm going to box these up and take these to the layout. Like I have these two, and I've got videos of that, along with 40 coal cars, and 5 of them have sound car. And it sounds just spectacular. If you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to check it out and judge for yourself. But if someone were going to take all 4 of these to a layout, you can just unbox them, stick them right on the track, put an address 38, and it's going to operate the way I just showed you. About as typical as you could, and realistic as you could get, in my opinion, with running locomotives. So hopefully you see an advantage there, and maybe try to dive in there. Look at, Soundtraxx has a ton of these videos. That's where I've been learning. I learn something new almost every time I mess with these. So I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day.